We should all be hopeful and excited that DEI is dying, but that is only the beginning of ridding our society of destructive, sinister practices of the powers that be. ESG is the umbrella for which DEI, climate change, and all the other woke initiatives live. If we want our freedom back, it's time we cut the head off the snake and destroy this totalitarian agenda once and for all. Rosie the Riveter dropping more truth bombs to destroy fake news and propaganda. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get new videos when they are uploaded. Now, let's get into today's riveting topic. It's obvious since President Trump took office that he is not pulling any punches. In a speech to the World Economic Forum, just days after his inauguration, Trump called out the Bank of America directly for debanking conservatives.
And by the way, speaking of you, and you've done a fantastic job, but I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business within the bank, and that included a place called Bank of America. They don't take conservative business. And I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives, because what you're doing is wrong.
Bank of America published a statement on X denying the allegation, but Community Notes quickly informed readers that 15 state AGs have placed Bank of America on notice for debanking conservatives. In addition, X users quickly responded to Bank of America, calling them out after personally being debanked by the company. Eric Prince, Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, Jennifer Lawrence, Dr. John Eastman, Cat Turd, and various family members of theirs were all debanked in 2021 and 2022. And this is just a sample of those who posted their experience. Charlie Kirk confirmed he knows several people who lost their accounts due to their political views. Alexander Shepard reminded us that Tucker Carlson obtained evidence that Bank of America spied on their customers, voluntarily turning financial records over to federal investigators. So why would Bank of America cancel clients over political views, which is completely violating the Constitution? Because that's the agenda. I briefly referenced ESG in my recent video on DEI, but it definitely deserves its own video and explanation, so here we go. According to Wikipedia, Environmental, Social, and Governance, ESG, is shorthand for an investing principle that prioritizes environmental issues, social issues, and corporate governance. The term came to light in a 2004 report compiled as a joint initiative of financial institutions backed by the United Nations. Conceived by the UN and adopted by the World Economic Forum, ESG is a set of arbitrary directives relating to the environment, social issues, and business regulations, which instruct companies to monitor their customers and punish those who are not doing what they are told regarding their woke initiatives. So Trump not only confronted the president of Bank of America to his face, he did so in ESG's backyard, the World Economic Forum. But Bank of America is in no way the only one doing this. While they are very likely voluntarily making this move because they are part of the WEF, other companies are being strong-armed into complying with such policies, and it is destroying free markets, capitalism, societies, and freedom as a whole. What it comes down to, if you want to do business in the world stage, then you must participate in ESG. But this doesn't just affect those big worldwide companies. Any statewide, local, or mom-and-pop establishment that wants to work with, say, Bank of America here in the States, like a cleaning company, office supply company, or even a caterer, those enterprises must also subscribe to ESG. Otherwise, they will not get the contract. If Bank of America were to hire them anyway, even if they themselves are adhering to ESG, they would also be debanked from the world stage for employing a non-ESG entity. See how that works? See how freedom can be eliminated by a handful of powerful people pushing their own tyrannical initiatives? See how capitalism can be quickly transitioned into fascism by the very people accusing capitalists of being fascists without the populace even aware it's happening and actually supporting it? It sounds like something out of China, right? Well, it is. The Chinese monitor everything their people are doing and rate you on a social credit score. And if you violate their social rules, you will be punished. Things like posting something the government doesn't like, crossing the street at the wrong place, or associating with someone already in their watch list can affect your score. And if your score goes down low enough, your ability to buy a plane ticket, attend a school of your choice, work, or even buy groceries is removed. Again, the very same people who accuse Trump of kissing up to China and being their puppet, claiming he wants to be a dictator, are the exact leaders who are perfectly fine with and endorse ESG and China's dictatorial social credit scoring. Let's not forget when Canadian truckers ascended on Ottawa in January of 2022, almost 2 years after the world had been shut down for a 2 week slow the spread period. All they wanted was to be allowed to return to work. Instead of Canadian officials listening to their complaints, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland actually froze the bank accounts of those involved, telling the world they were domestic terrorists and violently protesting. So, BLM rioters burn cities, loot thousands of stores, cause billions in damages, and assault and kill people protecting their property, and we're told they are mostly peaceful protesters. Canadian truckers travel to their capital to protest vaccine mandates and put up bouncy houses, food carts, dance, and blow their truck horns, and they are demonized as violent criminals and terrorists who must be silenced. Interestingly, that's the same tactic used against J6 protesters. Furthermore, GoFundMe announced they were going to confiscate the funds collected to support those truckers and redirect them to organizations they deemed worthy, ones like BLM. Extreme and immediate backlash on that caused them to change course and at least return the funds to the donors. It's almost like there's a social credit scoring system where winners and losers are chosen by those running the game. But this is where ESG leads us, folks. If they don't like what you are doing or what you are saying, they will viciously attack you, manipulate information so as to press charges and freeze your assets without any regard to their country's laws and constitutions, and prevent you from having the funds to live. It's that easy to control you, and they will make you comply or pay. Many of us in the conservative movement have been aware of this behavior well over a decade. Glenn Beck of Blaze Media and his staff have presented extensive research and evidence regarding ESG and its predecessor, Agenda 21, which was presented by the UN in 1992. In 2012, Beck published a book called Agenda 21, outlining the UN's and the WEF's initial blueprint to have their draconian policies in place by 2021. Initiatives like bike lanes. Did you ever wonder why towns everywhere were redesigning roads to include them, even at the expense of car lanes? Yeah, that was Agenda 21. But it wasn't just conservatives that fought against Agenda 21. Some liberals did too. According to Rosa Kier, who defines herself as a civil rights advocate, pro-choice, and pro-gay marriage, recognize that Agenda 21 transcends party lines. She gave this warning. It's not just about bike lanes, it's about remaking cities and rural areas to the sustainable model. High-density urban development without parking for cars is the goal. This means that whole towns need to be demolished and rebuilt in the image of sustainable development. Bike groups are being used as the shock troops for this plan. Rosa did extensive research and produced quite a bit of content exposing Agenda 21, but unfortunately, she passed away in May of 2021. Many of her videos have now been removed from YouTube. Trump's win in 2016, plus the exposure from Beck, Rosa, and others, forced the UN and WEF to regroup and push their goal back to 2030 or Agenda 30. As I pointed out in my last video, they also rebranded as the Great Reset. But the goals are still the same, and they are shoved forward through ESG policies. Cities complied with bike lanes because federal funds were promised and or threatened. And after all that time and expense, how often do you see someone using them? Occasionally? Rarely? Never? Regardless, world leaders aggressively push on because, as Rosa explained, bike lanes were just the starting point. Ever heard of 15-minute cities? These are condensed areas that put housing, shopping, and dining within a 15-minute bike ride or walk, greatly reducing, if not outright eliminating, personal car ownership. But how are they going to force so many people into condensed areas when it is so easy to travel on highways? Easy. Eliminate the escape route. Tear them down socially before you tear them down physically. But highways also created problems, some of which have become much worse in the years since. Urban freeways displaced communities and created air and noise pollution in downtown areas. They made it easier for suburban commuters to zip to their suburban homes at the end of the workday, encouraging those with means to abandon the urban core, according to Ted Sheldon and Amanda Gann of the University of Tennessee. They also encouraged a reliance on cars that has led to the traffic problems and commuting woes that are motivating a return to city cores. Wonder who's leading that motivation? Let's listen to Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, in a speech to the World Government Summit to find out.
When we meet for the 20th Governance Summit, you will use an app like Uber, but not anymore to call some driver, but automatically guided car, a self-driven car, will come to your hotel or wherever you are and will bring you to the airport. No, Los Angeles is one of the cities with the heaviest traffic, who told me in 2030 Los Angeles will be private car-driven free. And this will allow to transform highways into parks and other public spheres.
According to Kia Wilson of Streets blog, they want to tear down highways and redevelop the land that's left behind in better ways, as well as use the newly highway-free land to the benefit of the communities that surround it. Communities that often are the direct descendants of Black and brown residents whose lives were upended when the highways were built in the first place. Claiborne Benson, the founder of the Wisconsin Black Historical Society and Museum, insists the new highways spurred a mass exodus of white residents to the suburbs at the expense of Black communities like Bronzeville. It became more important to move commuters smoothly from their suburban homes to downtown. That was the ultimate goal. So, according to Benson and Wilson, the result and ultimate goal of highways was not improving interstate trade, free commerce, and mobility for all Americans, but segregation. Okay then. But fear not, they have the solution. Quoting Greg May of Rethink I-794, he wants to replace an I-794 overpass with a pedestrian-friendly boulevard linking the city center with the trendy 3rd Ward District and the waterfront, proclaiming there'd be more room for walking and biking. Furthermore, he contends his proposals are an example of what is possible when pedestrian-centered design replaces highways. See the plan? build the 15-minute cities and sell them as convenient communities with parks and outdoor spheres, then literally burn the bridges to the rural areas, forcing people who work in the city to actually move there. Biking, walking, and Ubering will be promoted, encouraging you to get rid of your car. Because entrapping people in an area without a personal means of escaping always turns out well, doesn't it? The mainstream media is doing its part to try and debunk efforts exposing what is happening with ESG. Knowing what we know now, I'm sure we can trust USA Today's fact checkers when they say it's all a conspiracy theory, right? Thankfully, conservative efforts to shed light on these draconian initiatives caused citizens to rise up and demand action from their local governments. Many responded, passing legislation to prevent ESG initiatives in their states. As red states are pushing back, blue states and cities are going forward at lightning speed. And the results are devastating to American citizens and communities. For years, California has championed environmental ESG directives, refusing to clear forest brush, remove dead trees, and preventing water from flowing to areas in need to save a tiny fish. Add this to a focus on DEI hires, massive cuts in fire department funding, including layoffs, and it is a recipe for disaster. Regardless, Democrats continue to tell citizens that their recent fires were all caused by climate change. Yet the truth is being revealed. It is all their initiatives that are directly tied to ESG environmental and climate policies that leads to this horrible destruction. When fires destroyed western Maui in August of 2023, the governor warned of people trying to grab the land of those devastated by the disaster. Even The Guardian reported these land grabbers. While I somewhat question their motivation behind using the term capitalists, I do hope their pushback against the land grabbers was legit. However, here are some of the capitalists who are really buying up Maui. So how is Maui doing a year after their devastating fire? Since the fires, almost half the survivors have had to move out of West Maui, and many have left the islands altogether. According to data from the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, more Native Hawaiians now live in the continental U.S. than in Hawaii. What happens is, you just have people holding on as long as they can, and then eventually they break. Did you hear LA residents tell President Trump they were told it would take 18 months to get permits to just clear their land? How long will they be able to hold out? Fortunately for them, just days before the fires broke out, Los Angeles City Planning announced new zoning codes that would make it easier to build a better LA. Starting in the downtown area, these codes went into effect January 27th, and the Atlantic is helping push the idea of more urban development in the LA area. In a council meeting that occurred about 2 weeks after the Lahaina fire, one resident let the council members know how she really feels. Nobody called us. Our phones didn't work from 5 in the morning. The fire was not until 10 o'clock when I went to work, she stated, noting that there was no water for hours and no warning from the government. The woman also doesn't believe it's a coincidence that the satellite city has been destroyed, possibly driving down the value for others to purchase the land. Everybody talking about the satellite city before the fire. Lahaina gonna be the first satellite city, the resident says, before taking aim at the two billionaires. Well, hey, Jeff Bezos, you got what you wanted. Oprah, you got what you wanted. A satellite city is just another name for a 15-minute city as well as smart cities, which emphasizes data collecting AI and camera surveillance that would also accompany satellite and 15-minute cities. The mainstream media immediately pushed out reports claiming this woman's accusation that Maui's plan to make Lahaina a satellite city had nothing to do with the fires. Interestingly, the plans centered around the Lahaina Civic Center And that area was highly affected by the fires, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
Disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
Reporters also insisted the governor absolutely did not say he was making it a satellite city, but he didn't have to. The news was already out there that that was the plan. Keep that in mind as you watch this.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
This interview was conducted while homes were still in flames. Why is Newsom so happy about spectators coming in and looking to buy the land? Did you hear he said he had been in contact with Hawaii's governor? Why is that significant?
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost.
Did you catch that? I'm already thinking of ways for the state to acquire that land. And here, Green caught himself before revealing the truth.
The problem we have, of course, is we are now in it. We are in an era of global, climate change. And what we do in Hawaii, we will be able to lead by example as far as mitigating efforts and our pain. When people see the pain that we have suffered, they're going to take us seriously. It's an unusual thing for a person like me to get to speak to a very broad audience, a broad international audience, but I will make this case. Smart
he said it.
Legislatures,
smart
and
cities.
Governments.
He's about to say it. Did you catch that? Smart cities.
Fire mitigation.
Think about it. If Newsom was angry that people were wanting to come in and buy up destroyed plots, he would have had a serious, strong tone and stance. But instead, he's dancing and giddy. His body language tells you everything you need to know. It's almost like he's dreaming of 15-minute cities all over the area connected by bike lanes. History doesn't repeat, but there sure is a lot of rhyming going on here. In both fires, officials in both cities were out of town when the fires hit, even though the danger was known. Cars were blocked, in some cases purposefully and abandoned. There was no water for the firefighters. Why? Because water was delayed or kept away. Notice these articles about California are from 2019. Both areas had ambitions to be smart cities. And to no surprise, ESG initiatives of combating climate change is blamed for the fires. A rapidly produced research report from scientists at the University of California quickly determined the LA fires were much more intense because of planet-warming fossil fuel pollution. Only if those fossil fuels are dead trees and brush, and climate change has power lines and a match. LA's water problems were known well in advance. So with their history of fires, why would they carelessly neglect taking preventative and emergency-ready measures? Is it really about saving a fish? Giving these people a total benefit of the doubt, assuming nothing nefarious occurred, and it is just policies, can everyone at least agree that it is time all these woke initiatives go up in flames too, so we can return to small government common sense practices? While we are having some successes fighting the Great Reset, there is a lot more that needs to be done. Climate change, the Green New Deal, financial, gender equality, DEI, vaccine passports. Yes, you heard me correctly, vaccine passports. Klaus Schwab even wrote a whole book about it. See my link to a Glenn Beck video in the description box for more details on that. Think about it. They wanted to force you into getting a shot if you wanted to leave your house, eat at a restaurant, and buy groceries. What about social media silencing people under the guise of preventing disinformation? The truth is, destroying free speech is also a part of Agenda 30 and ESG, folks. It's all part of your social credit score. This is all related. All these, plus many other hardcore progressive initiatives, are what fuel Agenda 30 and ESG, which they will continue to shove down our throats even as their programs fail. They have much more sinister plans for the masses, and they've come very close to achieving them. Each one of these Agenda 30 initiatives needs to be systematically and thoroughly dismantled. Otherwise, this worldwide disease will evolve and transform and return even stronger and more powerful. I'm Rosie the Riveter, and that's my 2 cents. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below. If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting my work on Patreon. You can find all my videos and my blog, Liberating Letters, at thefaxpaper.com. You can also start your own research on the Fax Paper by exploring the thousands of links to articles I have, including those noted in my videos, sharing the truth fake news propagandists won't. Investigate and discover the truth for yourself.